Right. This is a content warning before we get into the rest of the episode, just for sexual assault and violence
And
and
murder.
murder, and this all happening to a young girl. So if that
Yeah.
feels like it is going to be triggering for you, we love your patronage. We love you listening to the show. This just might not be the episode for you, and we completely understand that. And we respectfully just want to let you know that this is the content of this episode. So if you don't feel comfortable, no hard feelings. Please come back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about, I guess, happy things in the series of unfortunate events. I will say, hello, everyone, and welcome to Flip the Scripts, an adaptation podcast. I'm your host, Ankit and Madhira.
And I'm your host, Stephen Nieman.
And we are back, and this week we're talking about a new book, we're talking about a new film, and we are talking about The Lovely Bones.
Yeah, so by Alice Seibold. Let me say her name correctly because that was atrocious. Alice Seibold. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if it's not.
I believe it is.
Cool. Just letting you all know, this is the end of our one-shot kind of extravaganza. So last week you watched Holes Part 2. A couple weeks before that you watched Anyone But You. You got us to complain about Shakespeare, so that was really fun.
Or maybe you didn't watch Anyone But You, and like our editor, you just listened to the episodes and decided I never need to watch this film.
Exactly. So now we're doing The Lovely Bones, which is an adaptation. The movie came out in 2009.
Yeah. So I think we jump straight into it. We got a lot to talk about in this episode because
fun fact time.
I have thoughts about this movie.
Okay, but also I have a fun fact to add to your fun fact time that I hope you didn't find.
Ooh, actually, I have a few fun facts that don't. I have one fun fact.
One of my fun facts is
doesn't
about Mark
matter.
Wahlberg. That's my fun fact.
Oh, you want to hit me with your fun fact first? Oh, for context, ladies and gentlemen, if nobody has seen the film, the cast is a star-studded cast.
It really is.
Mark Wahlberg, Rachel Weisz, Susan Sarandon, Stanley Tucci, Michael Imperioli, and a very young Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
You have a very star-studded cast
I
here.
think it's Saoirse is how you say her name correctly.
Saoirse?
Yeah. Like there was a whole Irish bit.
I have no idea.
Or Cersei. Cersei.
Look.
Yeah. Because Irish spelling, they have extra letters, and that's the Celtic thing. And yeah. I'm probably gonna get hate by some Irish people.
Sure.
But yeah, Mark
Madam
Wahlberg.
Ronan, I apologize for messing up your name.
So Mark Wahlberg got cast as Jack Salmon in this movie. Mark Wahlberg decided that Jack Salmon needed to be an extra 120 pounds, which he gained. He gained 120 pounds to play this film, so he was eating like a maniac. Peter Jackson, the director, which is hilarious that Peter Jackson's the director, because I'm like, no, buddy, this isn't you. But Peter Jackson, the director, said, if you do not lose the weight, you will not be in the film. So he then had to re-lose 120 pounds.
Good.
So Jack Salmon was going to be a big fat guy, which is
why?
Mark Wahlberg read the book, and he just felt like he should have been.
Okay.
That was just Mark Wahlberg's adaptation choice, and Peter Jackson was like, nope, not my vision, lose the weight. And I'm like, dang. So that's my fun fact, that Mark Wahlberg almost got fired for this film for gaining too much weight. And not even like a little bit of weight. No, like literally 120 pounds.
Look. Mark, you are significantly more successful than I am. But, like, maybe check with the director before you go through all that work, my friend.
Hey, you lost all the weight. Give him credit somewhere, right?
Look, 100% credit. I've seen like videos, like that man's work ethic is insane.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the Mark Wahlberg fact that I have. Go to your fun fact time.
Yeah,
it's fun fact time. Everyone.
My
Let's
fun
go.
facts is that first off, it is a 2002 novel written by Alice Seibold, and
Yes.
the Movie is a 2009 adaptation. It was released on December 26th, 2009 in New Zealand and then internationally in 2010. So that's why
Nice.
some people might think that it's 2010. Officially, it's 2009, but it's practically 2010 because it came out 5 days before the end of 2009.
So it was a New Year's movie.
It was a New Year's movie.
Got it.
Interesting way to start out the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the people that worked on this film, I'm sure they're all lovely people, and I just want to say that before we rip the film a new one. I'm gonna do my best to defend this one, but I have thoughts. So then the people that worked on the film, we have our director of Peter Jackson, who y'all might know as the person who directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
And others. And
And
others.
others.
I mean he's responsible for the Hobbit trilogy and other things. Peter Jackson's just an epic director. I mean, his visuals in this movie, I mean, I can't knock the visuals of this movie because they're very Peter Jackson.
Oh, yeah. He is also, if I just look at his directing credits on IMDb, I am just curious on what they have.
You know,
And
I think he puts himself in every film he does as well. So he might be a cameo in this film.
where? I didn't see him.
I looked for him hard. I feel like he's just one of the townspeople walking around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not see him there.
Mhm.
At all. But yeah, he's done quite a lot of things. He's done the Hobbit trilogy, he's done King Kong, he's
Yes.
done the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which we all know. He's done Dead or Alive, Meet the Feebles, Bad Taste, The Valley. He's done a lot of work. Anyway, back over to who else worked on this film. We also have our writing credits. The screenplay goes to Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and Peter Jackson, and the novel is Alice Seibold. So the novel was not with Alice.
You mean the author was not helping with the screenplay?
No, the author was not there for the screenplay.
Which we've talked about in our, if you watch our Hunger Games episodes, you could see us have a really deep conversation about whether we believe an author on the staff helps or hinders the process. Ankit and I are actually very for the author being on the staff, but it's been a really kind of a hiccup thing on Series of Unfortunate Events, which is the series we were doing literally before our one shot, where Daniel Handler, who is the author of, of Series of Unfortunate Events, has been put on the writing team of almost every episode, but like 3.
Yeah, it was weird.
And they're the weakest episodes in the season. And Ankit had to keep reminding me he's on the writing staff with all the changes. And but also, but that's cool.
That's
so fair. We're gonna have fun deep dive. Let's keep going on this fun fact time because we got a lot to get through.
We still just a few more things. We got our ratings to get through.
Yeah.
So IMDb rates this a 6.6 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Just for fun, popularity. I don't know what this means on the side. I think it's most popular movies. It's at 882 as we are recording this. No, I'm sorry, 822 as we are recording
Out of like
this.
1,000 movies?
Out of I don't know how many.
Okay, so I would say like maybe it's ranked 882 out of a bunch of movies. I will say this: the movie itself has entertaining factor, and I know a lot of people in the middle school read this book, or high school actually.
Yeah,
and they might
I do think that
inclined
it is
to watch the movie.
right, and I don't think that this is an all-time rating. I think this is a current most popular.
Let's go to Rotten Tomatoes.
When I go look at the most popular, the top things are The Brutalist, The Monkey, Captain America, Brave New World. And I know that is not our top 250.
Those aren't my top movies ever. Let's go to Rotten Tomatoes.
Over on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, which is the one with the critics, give it a 31%. And the popcorn meter, which is for the audience, give it a 52%.
You didn't even let me guess this time.
No, it was just sadness all around.
So, Ankit and I are actually very justified, I feel, now in our anger, where we realize, wow, even the critics hated this movie.
The only last fact that I have is actually the audiobook that I listened to for this one
Uh,
was the author reading the book herself.
oh
And it
wow.
was a very interesting thing. And at the beginning or end, I don't remember. I had to return the book at this point. So I
Did
don't have
she
the book anymore.
did she read her
But
author's note?
I did. And one of the questions that she gets asked a lot, and I don't know if I've ever heard this from an author explicitly, and so this is why I
Mhm.
thought I'd share, is she gets asked, does she go back and read her old work? And she says she does not many times because when she's working on the characters, when she's working on the book, that's the world that she's living in. And then she is just moving on to the next project. She has told the story of the characters that she wants to tell. She has lived their life and enjoyed them, but it's time to say goodbye and move on to the next one. And so it's fun for her to go back and reread this story and re-record it and get back into it and just, revisit the story. But she revisits the story years after she originally wrote it probably early 2000s. She didn't even write it in 2002 if
Yeah.
that's when it was published. But so she revisited the story years afterwards and then recorded the audiobook. And she was saying that it feels like I now get to come back as a fan. And while I'm connected to them in a way that the fans are not, I get to come back from an objective point of view.
Yeah, I think for me, I have the same kind of feeling when I'm directing a play. I I I've learned in my directing experience, I don't really want to direct a play twice
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like you always try to just recreate what you've done before.
Yeah.
I think it's quite fascinating. I think as an actor too, it's hard to come back to a role. I've directed my dad. He played Otto Frank twice in his life. He's played Tevye twice in his life, Fiddler on the Roof. And my dad has a really good outlook as an actor when he goes into those projects. He's always like, no, this is a new production. This is a new version. I have to be open. Where I could, as a director, I find myself getting trapped in my footholes. So I think it's a very interesting artistic thing to be like, yeah, no, I've moved on. I'm on another project.
That's fair. I usually move on. I'm usually on another project, but also I have never been in a situation where someone has asked me to reprise a role that I have done in the past.
You'll play flute again sometime. No, just kidding.
It is very possible that I
It's a good
will.
role.
It's a good role. All right, let's jump into this movie. You want
All
to give
right.
us a quick rundown of what happens in the book?
Yeah. So The Lovely Bones is a movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the book, and content warning awareness, everyone. Please know we're going to talk about dark subjects this episode. It's going to get very, very dark. We're going to talk about things that are not appropriate usually. But please come back in 2 weeks for some happy stuff with series and unfortunate events. I
Oh
say
yeah, because
happy, and I know.
that right.
I say happy,
Um,
but we're gonna try to make
yes.
this as entertaining as possible. But please note, like, we are not here to when we're talking about the book, we're gonna talk about specific things, and we might move on. We're not gonna dig so deep that we're gonna try to hurt you.
Right.
Please watch at your own peril.
Right. This is a content warning before we get into the rest of the episode, just for uh, sexual assault and violence
And
and
murder.
murder, and this all happening to a young girl. So if that
Yeah.
feels like it is going to be triggering for you, we love your patronage. We love you listening to the show. This just might not be the episode for you, and we completely understand that. And we respectfully just want to let you know that this is the content of this episode. So if you don't feel comfortable, no hard feelings. Please come back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about, I guess, happy things in the series of unfortunate events. I will say, I have read book 5 of the
Oh, it's
series of
great.
unfortunate events. The book is very fun. So there isn't as much sadness, I feel like, as some of the other ones.
Oh, and I think the episodes are even more fun.
Great. I haven't seen the episodes
I'm
yet.
really excited to watch them again. Okay, so the book is all about Susie Salmon, who is a young girl about the age of 13. She's walking home from school one day. This is literally the first chapter, everyone. Walking home from school today, and her neighbor, George Harvey, invites her into this bunker igloo thing, and R words her and then M words her.
Yep.
in sequence. She then goes to heaven and watches her family's life from up ahead and all the things that happen to not only her father, Jack Salmon, Abigail Salmon, her mother, her grandmother, Grandma Lynn, her
Sister.
brother Buckley, her sister Lindsay, and George Harvey himself, the murderer. So she kind of watches from above the world that they're all living in, and these other two characters who are really important in the story, Ruth and Ray. Things happen, people try to solve the murder, and a lot of things kind of at the end seem to be in a happily ever after. The book is really about grieving and how to move on from grief. It is not necessarily about that one moment in chapter one. It is about how people move past a sad event, which I think Alice Seibold is very good about writing.
And I think what Alice Seibold did very, very well in this book is that everybody grieves in a different way.
Exactly.
And while obviously she's not going to be able to, show all the different types of grief, because you're not able to do that in a book. Like that's just going to be too much. I think she did a very good job with our characters and having them all grieve in different ways, but that felt truthful to each character.
And I'm going to say this now in the summary. The book takes place over 20 years, I want to say.
That sounds right.
By the end of it, Lindsay's an adult, has a child. So I want to, and she's your younger sister. So I just want to say it takes, the book is like a very long time, where the movie doesn't really have that. So we're going to talk about that. So
we're going to talk about it.
Let's hop into the adaptation. First thing I noticed, and this is not an adaptation thing, DreamWorks helped produce this film. And I was like, DreamWorks, you're a kid's company. This is not the movie for you.
Hey. It's still technically a kid's film.
Don't you? I mean, yeah. Okay, so this movie should have been rated R. I'm just going to put that out right now. This movie should have been rated R.
I think this movie would have done a lot better if it was rated R.
But I think they wanted to get that 13-year-old girl audience in to see the movie. Who's there was a reason for it. So the movie starts with Susie as a little girl with a snow globe. This is not how the books start. And then we cut to parents making out. 12 years later.
The book starts with "My life started the day I died" or something along those lines. Like in line 1, you learn, Susie's dead.
Yeah. So 12 years later. Then we cut to Susie taking pictures. Now, Susie is a camera fiasco. Like, she loves it. Aficionado. That's the word I was looking for. Not fiasco. Fiasco means bad things. Aficionado.
Torture. Chaos.
Chaos. Fiasco. Aficionado. She loves taking pictures. We don't learn about that till a chapter called Snapshots. Now, there's 2 chapters in the whole book that are named. Snapshots and Bones. It's the only 2 chapters in the book that are named.
This is true.
So we don't learn this now. We meet Ruth right away, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And then we get to Buckley swallowing a twig. Now, all of these events happen in the book. They don't happen in this order. The book storytelling is very from the mind of Susie. You're kind of going back in time a lot of times, seeing things, feeling things. We start in heaven is the storytelling element. This feels more like we're going to try to tell everything in a chronological order, which I don't think works. I think it was so interesting that Alice Seibold kind of told it more in an episodic nature.
I liked that it was abstract in the book.
Yeah, so Buckley swallows a twig. Oh, sorry, what were you thinking? I apologize.
You're good.
That's my bad.
We'll just edit this.
Or not.
No, I asked him to cut out some of the big flubs. Things like that. Yeah. Just to make it cleaner so that it just sounds cleaner. That's all. I think that it works better as an abstract story because you can jump character to character a lot easier, and you can see things that happen potentially simultaneously, but it doesn't feel like you're missing anything from the other characters. I feel like the issue with the chronological, and I think they still did a really good job and made it work for the film in chronological. I don't think it necessarily worked as an adaptation. There are things that I would change in that chronological. However,
Yes.
I think like if they wanted to make it chronological, they did their best, but I do think that the story as a whole works better when you have the freedom to jump and look at things that happen simultaneously, but you aren't missing out on what's going on with the other characters.
Yeah. So also at the same time, we kind of get told the story through different perspectives. It feels like, the narrator changes all the time. Susie's always there, but like if it does feel like the focus of the story changes, we're like, we
Mm-hmm.
focus on Jack, we focus on George, focus on Buckley, focus on Lindsay, focus on Abigail, focus on Grandma Lynn. I don't think Grandma Lynn actually ever gets a chapter, but she does say stuff. We just focus on people.
Yeah.
Buckley swallows a twig. And Susie finds him, and Susie Grand Theft Auto's a car to take him to the hospital. And I was
Let's
like,
go.
yeah, 13 years old, already stealing cars.
Hey, that did happen in the book.
It did. It just was much later. Buckley wakes up in the hospital to his family, and Grandma Lynn's like smoking in the hospital. I'm like, this was definitely the 50s.
Yeah. I think the book is set in the 70s.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. Now we start the book. So we cut to I thought we started the book, and then I was wrong because we cut to the family at a mall. The book starts like literally the day she dies, and I'm just like, why didn't you just start the movie like that? But all right, cool. You're gonna introduce everyone. That's fine.
Are you kidding me? It would have been such an incredible opening. Like I love movies and books that are just like, well, my life sucks. Here we go.
Yeah, so we cut to
Right?
the family at the mall. She says she sees Ray Scene at the mall. I'm probably saying his name wrong.
It's Sing.
Sing, thank you.
It's just
You know what's
racing.
funny? My friend Sammy has that last name, and I say
Yeah.
his last name wrong all the time. Racing at the mall. She's in love with Racing, but like Ray doesn't really know they exist. They haven't had a conversation at all, and I'm like,
Here's
they're supposed to have a relationship in the book.
here's my issue with Ray.
Yeah,
He's a senior. He's not
yeah, and she's
supposed to be a
13.
senior.
Supposed to be the same age.
They're the same age.
I don't know. Um, Grandma Lynn tells her about kissing, and then we cut to Stanley Tucci as George Harvey. Now, Stanley Tucci does a really good job playing this role. I think he understands it, but I think they're ruining the magic a bit. So we cut to him planning Susie's murder, and we get to see into the insights of the character. This is not in the book, and I think it's better not to have it because it reveals how calculated George is. We know that, but we learn that later, and I'd rather learn that later.
Yeah, I kind of wish that this scene, and while this scene is lovely, I think this scene is very important. I wish that they interspliced this scene throughout the movie instead of telling us this scene at the beginning of the movie. I think
Yeah,
this scene still works very well. The scene is incredibly important. This scene is still book accurate. I just think that they potentially put it too early to where we lose the suspense, because as I was reading the book, I was like, are they going to catch him? Are they not going to catch him? Are they going to catch him? I
I mean,
kept going back
she
and
died
forth.
in the first minute, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
you don't
it's
even worry about like how she's gonna die. You're like, no, you are worried about how she's gonna die. You're like, okay, when is she gonna die? Because
right.
it starts the
When is she
story.
going to die? I know
And
that
she
she's
dies in the
dead.
first chapter, but
Right.
like,
And it's like, I know that she has passed. I know that she was murdered because she says this
yeah.
in the first chapter. Like in the first paragraph, she says that somebody else took my life. And so it's like you already know this, and I found the mystery of like, okay, so like I know the outcome, but like how did this happen? It's like, okay, then we find out who it was, right? And then we learn more and more throughout the book of how calculated he was. I think that would have worked better is if this exact same scene was just spliced throughout the story to be like, you already know that he is the killer. Like, great, that's fine, but splice it out so that we learn how calculated he truly is.
So, and now Susie's making chips with bottles with her father. This does happen in the book, but it's explained much later. Again, we're bringing it to the
Also a
modern.
much shorter scene in the
Oh
book.
yeah. But the boats are really important for some reason, and then I was like, wow, so many boats. Um, then we wake up the next day, and mom's all mad because Susie's used all her film. Now, film back in the day was really expensive. I can't lie. Like, but she's used what 20 rolls of film is what they said.
Something like that, yeah.
And I think a roll of film takes back then probably 12 photos.
I don't know. I will look it up. Keep talking.
They had the thing later in the movie where he's like going through her pictures and it seemed like a package of 12. That's why I'm assuming 12. I don't know. I can ask my parents. They grew up in the 70s.
I mean, I'll just look it up. Give me a second.
All
My
right,
computer's just
so
working.
Buckley putting food from his bowl into his toys is hilarious. And then we leave for school. So her mom made her a beanie to wear, and my first question is, where is the snow? So one of the biggest points in the first chapter of the book is it's snowing where they're at. And the reason why the snow is important is because it hides the murder of Susie. It hides what George did for months.
Right. Okay. So film cartridges. What I have right here is the number of images you could get depend on the type of film and camera. For example, 110 film cartridges came in 12, 20, or 24 exposures. The standard 35 millimeter film roll typically provides 36 exposures.
Okay. So, interesting. So, then we cut to school, and they're making fun of Laurence Olivier, calling him Laurence Oliver, and he's playing Othello with her friend Clarissa. And I think this is funny, because this is one of those movies of theater history that I actually a little bit detest, because Laurence Olivier should not be playing Othello.
Fair.
I mean, back in the, it was very much the Shakespearean old tradition of putting stuff on your face to be the Moor, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But Susie making fun of it is weird, because she talked about loving the book Othello in the book.
Yeah.
Then Ray shows up, and Ray's like, hey, I hope you liked Othello. And it's like, wait, they're in the same class, and he's a senior and she's a freshman, I guess? I wasn't a freshman at 13, but like I was in 8th grade as 13. But I was like, what? Why are they in the same class?
I was at the start of my freshman year at 13 because I was 14 when I went to freshman year. What am I talking about?
I was 13, turned 14 in the September is my birthday, so like obviously.
Yeah. No, I turned 14 in 8th grade.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense that they're in the same class.
She might be 14 for all we know. I don't remember if it.
Oh, she might be 14. But also it doesn't make.
14.
But they're in the same class, and that doesn't make any sense, because you wouldn't take an English class with a senior.
That's not
also
how this
because
works.
Ray's supposed to be like this really super smart guy. If he's taking a freshman English class as a senior, I think there's a problem. So Ray is trying to pick up Susie, and we learn Ray is from England, and I'm like, that's new. That's not in the book.
Yeah. He is from England in the book.
He is?
Yeah.
I must have missed that. I must have been focused on something else. My bad.
Oh, that's fair. It's like one throwaway line. So like I don't blame you. Because like it's like a sentence and a half where she's like, he moved a lot. He was from England, but he was born in India.
That's right.
So like it's like one throwaway line in the book. So like don't feel bad.
Okay, they made it this whole huge thing in the movie. So I was like, oh, I don't remember this happening.
It wasn't as big of a deal.
Okay, so the drawing scenes. So then we cut to.
Can I before we move on from Ray? Sorry. Yeah. Can I say something real quick?
Go for it.
Hey Hollywood, cast an Indian actor to play an Indian.
Oh yeah, he's not, is he?
He's not. I have nothing against the actor. I have nothing against the actor Reese Ritchie. I thought he did a beautiful job. I enjoyed his character. I mean, the script didn't help him, but he is not Indian.
Well, also, can we point out the fact that his parents, who are important elements of the story, don't even get a line? So
Oh,
the two Indian actors that are in the movie, because we saw his mom and dad in the mall scene,
yeah.
they don't even get lines.
They don't get lines. And like Reese Ritchie, he can't do anything about this, but he is not Indian. So like
Yeah.
just
What is his ethnicity? Do you know?
I looked it up earlier. Hold on
Is he
one second.
Caucasian?
No, he is not Caucasian.
Okay.
His
Well,
his father is from Durban, South Africa, and his mother is English.
so
And his
definitely not
paternal
Indian.
grandparents left South Africa for England when his father was only a year old because of apartheid.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
No,
All
it's
right.
just ethnically ambiguous.
Cast
But
an
like,
Indian to play an Indian actor. It's almost like that's not hard. You could have cast Ankit. He was only 7 years old when this movie came out, but he would have done a
yeah,
way better job as Ray.
I would have at least been an Indian.
Yeah, you were like, hi, I'm little Ankit. He's still little Ankit, but it's fine.
I did,
Uh,
yeah.
so, then Ruth gets taken out of a class, and she's been drawing like nude things and inappropriate things. Everyone says Ruth's like the weird girl at school.
Mm-hmm.
This scene does happen in the book, but differently. So Susie's supposed to go into the theater department, which I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to see on film, because I'm like, I love it. And Ray's like up on a ladder, and she joins him up there. And
They're
they
up in the catwalk.
catwalk. Yeah. Scaffolding is what they use, but yes, catwalk. They
Yeah.
almost share a kiss up in the catwalk when Ruth and people come in, which prevents them from kissing for the first time there. They do have a kiss, by the way, before she passes away. They are supposed to have one kiss.
In the book, not in the movie.
Yeah, they cut the kiss completely. For a specific
Here's
reason
the
we'll talk about later.
what?
We'll talk about it why later. We'll talk about that moment again later. I'll talk about why they cut the
Okay,
kiss, because I
fine. We'll
figured
get
it out.
to it.
I figured out why.
I think I know
Um,
why.
So Susie then runs home, and she's happy because she has a date with Ray. They're gonna go to the mall, and it's all good stuff. And she cuts through the field, and she runs into Mr. Harvey. Keep in mind, the snow is supposed to be snowing on the field, and she just wants to cut through. She's not supposed to, but she does anyway. Where's the snow? But it's fine. He tricks her into coming into his bunker. It's supposed to be a snow fortress, as I said. Okay. But I will say the inside of the bunker, wins major adaptation points and scary points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bunker is perfect.
And that is where we'll take a snack break, everyone.
Oh, lovely.
Bye.
What's up, everyone? It's Stephen Nieman from Flip the Scripts. Thank you so much for watching our content. I hope you're enjoying the lovely bones. Are you agreeing with us so far with our adaptation choices? Are you disagreeing with us? Post in the comment section down below. If you like what we do, please like and subscribe. As a reminder, if we get to 100 subscribers before the end of 2025, Ankit and I will be forced to do the Twilight franchise, something we will not enjoy at all. If you want to support us monetarily, you can do so by subscribing to our Patreon. All of our links and all of our ways to follow us are in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching us. We really, really appreciate it. And now, back to the episode.
So we're back. Stanley Tucci might just be the perfect George Harvey. I just wanted to say that now. He's doing a really good job.
He carried this movie for me.
Yes. Okay. So he goes to, touch her inappropriately. And she runs away and knocks him in the nose, and then she escapes. And that was my first question of, what?
Yeah. So I got a few things before we get to this whole situation happening, right?
Oh, you're talking about the parents having dinner while this is all happening?
Well, like that is fine because that's what would have been happening in the book, right?
Yes.
I don't mind that because we're cutting away to just seeing, like, we don't see that in the book. but we can interpret that it's dinner time. This is
Yeah.
probably what's going to be happening, and this is how a family probably would handle this. It's like, oh, she's not home. She must have had camper. Like, okay, like we set her table, like, you know, we set her plate, save her plate. Like, you know, she might be running late. Like, let's see.
My parents did that for me when I was in late rehearsals. I mean, all the time.
Exactly. Dude, I barely eat dinner at home now because I'm always out in rehearsals or running around at night. So, like,
I mean,
I'll
I used
pack
to save
things
you
and
pizza in the fridge when we were housemates.
Yeah, you did, because you would be like, "Wait, it's tech. There's half a pizza left. Eat it for dinner."
Well, because I would put it in the fridge and be like, hey, I gotta run to work, but there's pizza.
It's like, you don't need to cook tonight. Thanks, buddy. Right? And so,
I mean, the amount
but,
of times we were out of that house was probably more than Naresh could handle. I think Naresh is home more than us.
dude, I'm pretty sure the amount that we were out of that house was more than we were in that house, and thank God for that.
Until we were sick, and then we were like, oh.
And then we stayed in the house, and then got more sick. Anyway, so yeah, bad living conditions. Woo!
This is how we're making this. By the way, everyone, if you notice the amount of times we're kind of going away from the book, this is how we're making it a little more entertaining for us right now, because it is dark.
It is very dark. We need to, or else we're not gonna have energy when we do this.
Sad episode.
Yeah. And don't get us wrong. Like, we completely understand. We don't want to make light of any of this.
No.
If anyone wants to have a conversation that is deep and meaningful, please reach out. We are more than happy to have this conversation with you if that is something that you are looking for. So, like, yeah. But anyway, here are the issues that I have, right? Because, like, hey, spoiler alert, she about to die. She's in a bunker under the ground. Like, cool. Few things. One, she never connects with Ruth.
Yes.
She never connects with Ruth. Just keep that in mind for the rest of this movie. But one, she never connects with Ruth.
I will also say there's another issue that I have with this moment. She met George before this scene, so she knew his name. In this version of the movie, she's only been around him in the neighborhood and has never really got to know him.
Right. Whereas, like, she isn't, the whole reason she goes into this bunker is she's not scared of George, because she's like, oh, yeah, I've known this guy that's lived next to my parents for years.
Yeah, so it's a bit stranger, I think, where it's like, if I was Susie, stranger danger would be my number one thing right there.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I mean, in the book, it's still like creepy. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still not okay. But in the book, it's like, oh yeah, this is Mr. George. Then, like, he lives down the street. Like, she knows who he is. She's probably sold him things from school before. Like, they have a rapport. It's not close by any means, but it is like, I know who my neighbors are, and I'm talking to my neighbors, right?
So she escapes, and we cut to Ruth finding a letter. It's the love letter from Ray. Now, the love letter that she finds is supposed to be in the textbook and never, like, blow to Ruth. I don't know why they decided to, like, let's use this as a prop, but they did. And then I realized something. Mm-hmm. Oh. She is running, but she is dead. They cut her murder out of the movie.
Which, like, fair enough. Completely understandable.
Yeah.
That
rated R rating versus PG-13.
Yeah.
So
it should have been rated R.
In the book, Alice Seibold explains in grueling detail the R word of George Harvey and Susie Salmon. And this is a very emotional moment in the book to read. It's very, like, it could be a little traumatizing. It's
powerful.
It's very powerful. It's well written. It feels like you're reading in first perspective as well. It's very emotionally draining. I take this with the utmost seriously as well at this point. Then she is killed. So there's that, like, George Salmon is not just a murderer, which is how they present him in the movie. George Salmon is a monster. Like, yes, he's a monster because he's a murderer, but he doesn't R word in the movie. He only R words in the book. And I think there's something about the George Harvey in the book that makes him more of a monster. Both are monsters in their own right, but I think it's a really fascinating dichotomy of what they changed. I think as well, one thing they cut is George Harvey after he murdered Susie. They didn't keep this in them. They didn't keep this as he cut her limbs up and spread them all throughout the town under the snow. So
not all of them.
Not all of them, but the snow was a big thing that helped him hide the murder. But they cut the snow. So it was
also like what we learn in the book is that's why he waited. We learn in this book, like, and we saw it earlier, right? That he's so calculated. But in the book, that's why he waits, is because he might have been done with this bunker, right, beforehand. We don't know in the book when he had built this bunker, how early he had built this bunker. But he also knew I have to wait until the snow so that it's harder to find my tracks.
Yeah. So now we meet Len.
I will say this. I was watching this movie with my parents. And by that, I mean my parents were in the room while I was watching the movie. Yeah. But the whole she escapes scene was so confusing that my dad, who at this point in time was still actively like watching the movie, right? He just goes, "What happened here?"
It doesn't make it clear that she got killed. It doesn't.
Yeah.
No, there's no clarity.
There's no clarity. And then about 5 minutes later, my dad goes, "Oh, she's dead."
Well, that's exactly how I felt, where I was like, oh, are they trying to tell a different story? Because I really thought she did escape. I thought that she was going to escape, and then somehow magically George was going to catch her again.
Yeah, I thought she escaped as well.
Okay, so now we meet Len. Len is the police officer. He's a really important guy in the whole story. Not in this movie. He's in 3 scenes. So then we're not in heaven, and this is where I was like, no heaven bits? That's like half the book. That's even maybe more than half the book.
It's the majority of the book.
Yeah. Then cut to Susie seeing the aftermath of her death. It's not clear what he did to her. We know it's dismemberment from the book, but in the movie it's very vague and very unclear.
Yeah.
She then disappears with a no. And I was like, okay. All right.
Okay.
It was all right. I mean, it was a good scream. I mean, but I just think the book did it better. We cut to the cops investigating Susie's death, and they find Susie's cap in the earth, not underneath the snow. I think the thing that actually got the cops into the investigation, she was missing persons, but after a month and when the snow melted, a dog found one of Susie's body parts, which is what
found her arm.
Found her arm, her actual arm, which is what led to the full investigation. But then, nothing happened there. Also, there's just like, the family then finds out that Susie is dead. They try to hide it from Lindsay, but then Lindsay finds out anyway. And there's supposed to be like this weird scene where Lindsay goes to school and the principal's like, it's okay. Like, I got you. And I'm like, you're a weird principal. Not the way to handle it.
To Rose? To her sister?
To Lindsay, yeah. Her sister.
Oh, yeah. Lindsay, her sister. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we cut the
Here's the other thing. I love that Lindsay, who is the younger sister, looks older than Susie, who's the older sister.
Yeah. I think so as well. I also think that might have just been a bad casting decision, and somebody was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Again, I didn't mind Rose McClever. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. That's where I got it mixed up. Is that the actress's name is Rose. But yeah, I didn't mind her in the role of Susie, but she just looked older than her older sister.
Yeah. So we cut to Harvey burning all her stuff and cleaning, and I was like, wow, it's not that. He never took her stuff to his house in the book. Like, maybe a few things, but he didn't, like, he did all the work out in the snow.
Yeah.
Which made it hard to find the evidence. Like, now he's brought the evidence in his house. Stupid.
That's all the evidence.
Harvey is very good at faking what he is doing, by the way, when the cops are going to show up in his house to knock on his door. But he forgets to hide the bracelet. I'm like, you forget to hide the one incriminating piece of evidence.
He isn't that careless in the book. He's
But also, the
so
cops were right there,
calculated.
and a cop was looking around the doll's house for the whole scene while he was talking with the other cop, and I'm like, he didn't see the bracelet and go, huh?
Nah, he's a stormtrooper cop.
Yeah, fair. He forgets to hide the bracelets. The old doll houses are like really good. My mom had one. My mom had one in the house, and a lot of people in the 1970s had them. And I think it's true. That's what he had in his house. That's
Fair.
factual.
I never had one, but I did read incredible stories growing up about dollhouse people.
Ooh, like Indie in the Cupboard? That's a really good one.
No. They're actual like books where like the characters are like dollhouse people.
Like The Sims?
No.
Kind of like The
Hold on.
Sims?
It's literally called The Doll People.
Wow. Interesting.
It's a children's novel written by Anne M. Martin and Laura Godwin.
So we cut back to Jack and Lindsay, and they're like, yeah, she's dead. And Lindsay's all sad, and that is what happened. I mean, it's sad. But I will say Mark Wahlberg at this moment, I'm like, yeah, you're good, but also not my favorite actor right now in this moment. I don't know. I feel like the movie's happening at a million miles per minute. You don't really get time to grieve for Susie as an audience member. Then we finally are in heaven. At least I thought. But it's just so it's chapter 2 of the book. So we've just made it chapter 2 of the book, and we're like almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Never mind. It's not the heaven of the book. The heaven of the book is actually very interesting. The heaven of the book, heaven is created by the person who's there. So they're able to wish for anything they want, and that's their heaven. Except for one thing. They can't wish to be back on Earth again, and they can't wish for the people on Earth to be there with her. But it's not heaven. It's just a weird thing. I don't know what it is. But it's beautiful because it's Peter Jackson and he knows how to make a scene. Then we cut to Salmon dumping the rest of Susie in the sink. I thought in the sinkhole, but he just dumps it in a lake. He dumps all her charms and stuff in a lake, but keeps the house one.
Again, he doesn't do this in the book. He loses her charm bracelet at the scene of a future murder in like New England, like incredibly far away from where they are.
It's supposed to
currently
connect all of the things he's done.
Yeah.
But she runs for Ray. So then she sees Ray in the distance. She runs for Ray, but starts to drown before she gets there. And like him dropping the charm is what drowns her, I guess. But then she wakes up in the gazebo.
Yeah.
Here she finds Ray's love note. And then we cut to the actual love note where Ruth meets Ray at the mall, where Ray was supposed to go on a date with Susie. And they talk about how they miss Susie. And Ray's all sad. And I'm like, you only knew Susie for like 1 minute in the film.
There's no connection.
I mean, yes.
Susie has no connection with Ray. There's no connection with Ruth.
I'm not saying that like death doesn't affect people differently, and if somebody died in your school, you wouldn't feel it. I think everyone will feel it, and grief, like we said, grief is dealt differently for every single person. It just because of the way they told the story in the movie, he only knew her for 1 minute, where in the book they've known each other for years.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Runa, his mother, is friends with her mother. Like they're friends.
It doesn't feel like this. I mean, Runa and whatever her mother's name is, Susie's mother, who I'm blanking on. Abigail. They do become friends, closer friends after Susie's death.
Yeah.
But like they do become friends. Like Runa is still, even though she's jaded to Mr. Salmon, she's still like respectful and understands the difficulty that he's going through. But like she's jaded because like everyone assumes that Ray was the murderer. Like
yeah, there was
the prime suspect.
That was cut from the book as well, because cut from the movie. I mean, because Ray was the first suspect in the murder.
Yeah,
because his love note was in her book.
In her book that they found, And so, like,
And because they're
there
reading
is a
Othello,
datedness to her.
there's an Othello thing with that, because that idea that Othello, killed Desdemona, so they're like, Ray, because Ray called himself the Moor. Ray, who called himself the Moor, is the killer, because Othello killed Desdemona in Shakespeare.
Exactly.
So Ruth says, I see Susie, and I'm like, but Ruth, you've only seen Susie once in your life. I mean, yeah, twice now, I guess, because you saw her dead. You saw the dead ghosty thing when she ran by you. But then, like Ankit said, they've never really had a connection before then. So, like, how are they supposed to be connected throughout the rest of the movie and book?
Whereas, like, even though there isn't as deep of a connection as like she has with Ray in the book, she still connects with Ruth before her passing.
Exactly. This is the weird thing that they keep doing. She meets a Holly in the afterlife, who tell her she is supposed to not look back. Holly is in the book. Holly is just her roommate, though. Holly's not that important.
Holly's just another person that's dead.
Yeah, they made her really more important in the movie. They talk about they're in the in-between, and I'm like, oh, so we're in purgatory. Okay, this isn't heaven like it is in the book, I guess. But they still can create whatever they want here. So I'm like, why didn't you just call it heaven and just say there's more that
That's
Susie
the
can't
thing.
go to
Like,
yet?
in the book, they call it heaven from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it can keep growing and keep expanding based on what you want and what you need and what you would like. But you're not in some weird in-between place that then you have to, like, move on to later. Like, no.
They cut her grandpa as well. I mean, her grandpa doesn't get introduced till like the end of the book, but they cut her grandpa out of the book completely. Her grandpa, who is dead, by the way, she meets him in heaven. They cut him out. And one of the things about cutting him out was the fact of the matter is he is supposed to like tell her there is more to heaven than what she's created.
Yeah, and the grandpa in the book comes in and says, and the gist of what he's saying is like, it's okay to occasionally look down and occasionally keep an eye, right? And occasionally take a look and be like, how's my family doing, right? How are my loved ones doing? I'm no longer with them, but like, I can keep an eye on them. How are they doing? See moments of their life, but don't be bogged down by always looking at them.
Yeah.
Go experience. Like, you are still having a life here in heaven, and they're living their life down there, and they will come join you when the time is right to come join you.
So this isn't the heaven of the book, and then Susie wants to go home. That's what she keeps saying. We cut to Jack smashing all of his bottles. And I'm like, yeah, this does happen in the book. He smashes all of the boat bottles because he used to make them with her. But he only made one with her in the movie, so then it doesn't really work as well as it wanted to be. But then we cut back to Harvey, and he's feeling safe. He knows he's got away with it. Cut back to Jack, honoring Susie, and he sees her. And then we cut to Holly and Susie dancing in their perfect world. This all happens in 3 minutes, everyone.
Yeah, this is real fast.
This is like a ba. Now, in the book, I think all that stuff does happen, but that takes like chapters.
Takes a while.
And weird montage of happiness. But there was a bunch of dogs, and I was like, that part's actually in the book.
Puppies!
Yes, all dogs still do go to heaven. I mean, I love that movie. That movie was great. I don't know if it's an adaptation. I just love it. Have you seen that movie, Ankit?
I don't know.
Add it to the list. All dogs go to heaven.
Okay.
It's an animated movie. You'll love it.
Oh, I love animation.
Yeah, you do. I know this.
Let's go.
Oh, you know what else my friends were saying that you should do on post finale? We watched it. Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Or we should do it for Flip the Scripts.
That's a book?
It's a book first, yeah.
Oh, okay. I've seen Wolf of Wall Street, which is why I can't do it for the post finale.
Good.
Yeah.
You've seen it. Awesome.
I've seen that one.
All right. We watched it the other night at Chris's house. So Buckley comes in to tell Jack he saw Susie. And I'm like, yeah, that is true. Buckley was telling his friends he saw Susie in the book. And their friends are like, you can't see her. She's dead. And Buckley has a huge argument with his friends about it. Buckley never grows up in in the film, but Buckley grows up in the book.
Oh yeah,
It's
Buckley
weird.
doesn't grow up.
Yeah.
I was sad that they cut the explaining death through Monopoly.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very beautiful way in the book to try to explain death to a 6-year-old.
And that's what this book really is about, isn't it? I mean, I
Yeah.
think, yes, audience, it is dark. Yes, it is sad. Yes, it is serious. And you know, Ankit and I are cracking jokes here. They're just trying to keep our energy up, but it is very serious. It is about how people deal with grief and how people learn about death. And I think Alice, what she does in her writing is her characters are so three-dimensional, and you live through them. You've been in that experience. You know what it's like to lose someone. And she's made it more tragic by adding murder to it. But if you just took that part out, the book is still good. And I think the murder is not the whole book. I think that's what I really want to say. Where the movie feels like it's so focused on it, where the book, it's not about that.
It's kind of like, yeah, all right, that happened, but like, how does everyone deal with it? I think the difference between the movie and the book is the movie leans into is the family going to find out who the murderer is more than the book does. While it's an important plot point of the book, I feel like the book leans more on how do different people deal with grief, whereas the movie steers a little bit clear of that.
So they start to develop her roll of pictures once a week, just like they promised Susie. Once a month, I'm sorry. Just like they promised Susie. So it will take a whole year to develop all that stuff because, 20 months, I mean. 2 years. 20 months. What is one thing? Oh, yeah. And then Jack starts getting more obsessed. Jack starts calling Len about who they think did it. Jack and Lindsay both get obsessed about something. And then Abigail is really upset about the obsession. So obsession has kind of hit the whole family. Grandma Lynn then shows up to help. Grandma Lynn is a terrible housekeeper.
Grandma Lynn is great.
But my question is, why is this in the movie?
Grandma Lynn?
No, just the terrible housekeeping.
Yeah, but that's accurate to the book. That's accurate to the book.
It's accurate. I just feel like, I don't know. I felt like the montage maybe went on for a little too long for me.
I think the issue, and I think I know what your issue is, they did it because the grandma came for Susie's memorial.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that isn't in it, right?
Nope.
And the grandma comes in, and we've spent time with Mom. We've spent time with Dad. We've spent time with Abigail and Jack, and they're grieving. And Grandma comes in to tell Abigail, she's gone, you still have to live.
Yeah.
Because right now, Abigail has completely shut down, isn't doing anything, like isn't talking to anyone. And so Grandma comes in to like just re-energize them. And like, I think there's a line in the book, don't quote me on the exact line, but it's something along the lines of, she brought something that they hadn't seen in months, laughter.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, right?
I also think that there was a lack of, so that's the one thing that you're right. The memorials of the book are gone. So not only is there a memorial after Susie's death, but there's a memorial every year in the cornfield that they cut from the movie as well. There's this idea that the town is affected by her death. But that's not a feeling in the movie.
Because in the book, it's a small town. It's not a big town.
It still feels like a small town. I mean, a small town with a mall, but a small town nonetheless.
It's a small town. There's one high school. Everyone goes to the same high school. Like, that's how it feels, right?
Yeah. Grandma Lynn shows up to help. We cut to Abigail almost going into Susie's room, but she doesn't. And we're seeing a lot of problems with that. And Holiday, then. Holiday is their dog. No, good boy. Good boy, Holiday. Love
Perfect
Holiday.
boy.
Perfect boy. No.
Best actor in the movie.
Best actor in the movie is the dog. Holiday is on a walk with Lindsay, because Lindsay's whole thing, she's obsessed now with exercise. That's her way of getting through what has happened. That's true in the book as well. The dog starts to bark at George Harvey, and then it makes Lindsay go, "This guy's weird," and Lindsay starts to like think that he's the murderer.
Yeah, Holiday barks with Jack in the book, not Lindsay.
Yes, that is true. Jack is the first one to get that inkling of Salmon is the murderer. No, Salmon is no. Sorry, not Salmon. Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you're gonna have to edit this out. Ankit, what time are we at? 58, 34?
Yeah, 59. So 58-ish.
Okay, let's get 4 more points, and then we'll end episode 1.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, At. Sorry about that. So yeah, the dog barked. Good boy, dog. You know. Grandma Lynn, then we cut to Grandma Lynn with Buckley, and she's like, "I'm 35," and I was laughing because it was actually a really funny line. Then we cut back to the in-between that's not in the book. And then she's afraid of a door in the house. Also not
in the book.
And then we cut to Harvey reliving his murder. And Harvey watching Lovers in the Field. And I was like, that's interesting. Jack is still honoring Susie's photos. And it is making his wife Abigail go a little crazy. Abigail then goes to the police station to talk to Len about it. She sees a girl that could be Susie and like almost freaks out but doesn't. And then Abigail has more arguments with Grandma Lynn. It's in front of the kids, and I'm like, that's not what happened in the book. In the book, Grandma Lynn and Abigail took a walk to have the argument, and because Abigail was cheating on Jack with Len, which is not in the movie at all.
Grandma knew.
Grandma knew because Grandpa used to cheat. That's how she knew.
But also, Grandma's mom in this situation.
Yeah.
Moms have a weird way to just know things.
Yeah. Abigail then leaves Jack. It's a lot sooner than expected. And I was like, what about the relationship with Len? What about Len's dead wife? There's a whole plot points that are missing to that whole story. And then Abigail moved to California to get away. And that, everybody, is where we're going to end episode 1 of The Lovely Bones. Abigail moving to California.
She went from sadness and, emotional despair to fires and physical despair.
We haven't had, with fire. Well,
sorry, too soon.
Maybe. I mean, people are still recovering from those.
No. Look, there is a beautiful thing that I saw, and I saw this years ago, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I saw this before I moved to London. I saw this. So this is like before COVID. And I just saw a wonderful thing, and I'll leave everyone on this beautiful note with California. California is just the Fire Nation. They're always in flames, and they're slowly taking over the rest of the U.S.
All right. That is the end of our episode. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Comment in the comment section down below. See you next week for Lovely Bones Part 2.
Let's figure out who this killer is. Oh, wait, we know. Whoops.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Flip the Scripts. Flip the Scripts is created, hosted, and produced by Ankit Madhira and Stephen Nieman. Our editor is Servellon. The art is by Kshitija Madhira, and the music is by Sebastian Hollich. If you would like to support the show, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/co-opforge. So that's patreon.com/co_opforge. Sign up for any of the tiers and you get access to various types of bonus content. And it really does help us out a lot of not being in the red while making these episodes for you all. If you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, that is great as well. You can talk about us on social media. Follow us on social media at Co-op Forge, CO_OPFORGE on all the various social media platforms. And you can also follow the show directly, Flip the Scripts Pod on Instagram. Be sure to talk about us on social media. It helps us out a lot. Thank you to anyone who has done this already or will do this in the future. And last but not least, if you still want to help out the show, word of mouth is a great way to help support the show and grow the show. Tell a friend, tell a family member about the show. There are two guys and they read books and then they go in, they watch the movie, they watch the TV show, they figure out, is it a faithful adaptation or is it just a fun movie but maybe not a faithful adaptation? That's also a possibility. If it's a show that you think they might enjoy, please do recommend it to them. It helps us out a lot. But we are just really thankful that you have tuned in for this episode of Flip the Scripts, and we hope you join us next week for even more tomfoolery. And until then, we'll see y'all later. Bye.